People of Reddit, what secrets do you have that you would take to the grave with you, but would be willing to share anonymously? I spent part of my childhood in a boys' home in former Yugoslavia. Money was non-existent for us. We only had what we stole or was gifted to us. Then my best friend at the time started to have, for that time, a shitload of money, but he wouldn't tell anyone where he got it from. After one summer he told me he sucks dicks and lets men FCK him for money. We didn't know the term prostitution at that time. Stupidly I asked him if I could do it too, and he introduced me to one of the older boys who then would arrange meetings with customers. Did it a few times. Can't say I particularly minded what I did, but definitely didn't enjoy any of it. That winter he was meeting someone and I have never seen him since. Also, the older boy stopped talking after my friend disappeared. Shortly after that time I got taken in by my foster parents and they were the best people ever. I have 2 step brothers. Haven't talked to anyone about that ever. This is the first time I even write about it. My former stepsister molested me for 3 years. 6 until I was 9. No one in my personal life knows and I'd like to keep it that way. I was ARPED at age 14. Like 3 people know. That's it. But what no one knows is I fell pregnant, and before I even got to tell my mum. My dad beat me so hard, for something unrelated, that I miscarried. Lord. There are a few. Big one that only a couple of people know, but not even the extent of what happened or by who. I was molested by multiple family members when I was a child. Father. Cousins. Uncles. Brother. I had no one I could go to when it was all happening. I was shy as hell, so wouldn't dare say anything to a teacher. And my mother was an abusive alcoholic at the time and I was scared to death of her. I will celebrate when they all die. I have always had the feeling that I will die young and actually don't really mind. I know my family will miss me and I would hate that I can't see my niece and nephew grow up, but if I die of natural causes, what are you going to do? Though I'm starting to push it with being 31 now. I've had an imaginary friend for the past 7 years and that's one of my biggest mental supports, LMAO. I know what my grandmother tossed into the well in her backyard before it was boarded up. It was a box of love letters she discovered, written by my grandfather's girlfriend. Since she never knew of his affair, I think it broke her heart. Part of her went down that well with those letters. My family weren't well off at all money-wise. So much so that whenever things were extremely tough when I was a young teen, I'd imagine it would be easier if one of my siblings passed away, large family, and would try to figure out which one's death would be the least noticeable. One of my siblings passed away a few years ago and I sure as hell am never telling my family that those thoughts ever crossed my mind. If I'd known back then how losing one of them would feel, I would never have entertained the idea. I'm rich as FCK. Family thinks I'm not doing well and I want to keep it that way. As soon as they hear anything about money they come and leech it away and use it for drugs and shit. I don't live fancy. I bought a nice 1-bedroom apartment where I live with my 2 cats. Peanut and Pipsqueak. I have a nice computer and a normal car. I just save my money or donate it to random charities every now and then. I once was cheating on an ex-GF. Got the girl pregnant and I offered to help pay for the abortion. She was on board at first. Then told me she was gonna keep the kid. She ended up miscarrying. That I feel no love for my family. Like I see them as friends. But I feel no obligation to love them. I think I would feel something if one of them died. But it wouldn't affect me like it would to the rest of the family. When I was a teenager, I got really drunk and my friend dared me to take a shitty in someone's front garden. I did. Months later my mother moved into the house and the shitty was still in the garden. She went mad about people not cleaning up after their dogs. My mother cleaned my shitty out of her garden. I've never shaken off my suicidal tendencies and think they'll always be with me. During last summer I suffered from an increasing fear of being a pedophile. I didn't actually have any thoughts around children, but a constant fear of having them. Every time I saw a child, I started getting anxious and asking myself if I was attracted to them. If I was a pedo. These thoughts and paranoia quickly invaded my mind to the point that all I thought 24/8 a day was that I was a monster. That I was a pedo. That I should kill myself. And it oppressed me greatly. Read up on pedophilia OCD. This experience is a thing. I'm a psychiatrist and have had a few patients with it. You are not alone. We may have intentionally sabotaged an asset worth more money than everyone that reads this thread's lifetime income combined. Because it was malfunctioning and the contractor refused to acknowledge it needed replacement. We forced the issue. They replaced it. Guessing military crap. I used to be one of the contractors. Sabotage was such a common way to get upgrades, I suspect it's damn near taught. Want the computers replaced but you aren't due for 3 more years? No worries. Ensure the PC is on. Whip out the angle grinder and start grinding whatever metal crap you can find in front of the air intake. Weird. Whole rack is dead. No idea how that happened. Guess it's time for a full refit. We all knew. We just didn't care. My mom sexually assaulted me. I eternally feel like I'm missing out on a big part of life. And seeing things that should make me happy. Or even do make me happy. Just amplifies that. I don't know why. And I haven't met anyone who shares this. I went through some pretty scary hallucinations for years in my youth. And by scary I mean so FK'd my brain won't accept not remember the full extent. In my late teens when I finally sought a therapist and help I was already getting better. But what I'll never share is that deep inside of me I'm not so sure what I saw and heard were made up in my head. Even now if I don't get enough sleep I see them lurking in the corners of my vision. Urging me to do terrible things. My best friend cheated on her boyfriend of 10 years. This happened about 7 years ago. When we were all in high school. They now have 2 adorable children and I've never told a soul. On a more serious note. I committed perjury to get and keep a horrific and evil child rapist and murderer behind bars. He is serving a life sentence in prison without the possibility of parole. I do not regret it. Edit. Removed some details for personal safety. My mother only told me when I was an adult. That I had an older half-brother who was given up for adoption. I grew up with the identity of being the eldest sibling. And she asked me not to tell my other siblings. We had a very stable and loving childhood. But it's odd to view things through that lens and wonder who this person is. I now carry that weight, guilt, because I'm torn between honoring her wish and feeling like I'm deceiving my own siblings. What would you do? Maybe talk to your mom about how this makes you feel and give her the chance to tell your siblings. 2 of my cousins were conceived via sperm donor. They think their dad is their biological father and they are adults now. My 14-year-old friend and I, who was also 14 at the time, had lots and lots of gay sex that summer in 1995. He came over nearly every day and while my parents were at work we experimented all summer. He even stole a gay magazine and we did pretty much everything it suggested. We'd sometimes do it 3 times a day. The shower sex was the most fun. When school started back up, we pretty much stopped. But my parents to this day have no idea. They don't even know that I am bi and enjoy sex with both men and women. Bromance. Absolutely none, because I don't trust the age of spying and data collection to not come back to bite me in the ass at some point in the next 7 decades. You think I want to deal with that bullshit when I'm 90? No thank you. That tea is either going with me to the grave, or I'm going to die shortly after it comes out. When I was 13 my mom punished me in diapers for the summer and treated me like a baby. I started liking the attention and kept wetting the bed at night and actually needed them. Wore night diapers until I was 17. I might be bi or gay, I don't really know which is which, I'm still confused. I had a girlfriend before but after we broke up, my heart got really broken and since then I like the same gender more. I haven't tried any dates or any relationships with the same gender. Because my dream is to have my own kids. I'm also scared that my family will be disappointed in me. I'm basically faking everything about me. 2 things you could do with the kids part. 1. Use your sperm and have a woman carry your child. People do it all the time. 2. Adopt. I purposely farted in front of the president when I met him. I know he smelled it. I could see it in his eyes. We shook hands and haven't spoken since. I probably killed someone who tried to kidnap me when I was a kid. My cousin, he's in college now. Maybe 18 or 19, touched me when I was maybe 5 up until I was 8 or 9. I didn't know it was wrong. I trusted him. So I had no idea it could be really bad for him to do that. He asked me to touch him. I didn't know that was wrong either. So I went on my merry way. Thankfully, it never went beyond touching. I found out my brother used my sister's toothbrush as a DLDO. Nobody knows I caught him. Not even my brother knows I caught him. It was a silent discovery. I once accidentally caused my uncle's computer's modem to make a shitty load of long distance calls to a then defunct BBS system, which turned out to be some random dude's home number at that time, as he called back and left an angry message on my uncle's business phone line number, which is what I guess came up on his call display. I heard the message come in, "Can you stop having your fax machine or computer phone me and beep loudly in my ear, you clearly have the wrong number," or something like that. I don't know if I caused my uncle a shitty load of charges on his phone bill or whatnot, but it was the late 90s, so I could very well have. I buried 50 ounces of silver bars somewhere on my fiance registered Sign-S farm while I was drinking, and now I don't know where they're at. Lol, her brother-in-law and I got all sorts of conspiratorial while drinking and decided to make a bug out stash. However, neither of us know where it's at now. I let my mother wipe my ass until I was 12 or 13. Only one other person knows this, other than my mother. Of course, and he may have forgotten by now since I very rarely bring it up. My friend dated a guy and she had to put a stop to this. His daughter was 8. The mother and grandmother felt the kid couldn't do it right, so they did it for her. When she was at dad's, mom demanded he do it as well. The kid would hold it in all day at school because there was no one there to wipe for her. My friend taught her how to do it herself, and when mom found out, she flipped her shitty. Could you imagine the fallout if the kid had mentioned dad has to wipe her parts for her cause she's not allowed to? It was so fk'd up. Nice try, mom. I'm a super straight female, but gay PRN is hot AF. I was gonna share my dark secret, but after reading some of these, my secret pales in comparison, and I was lucky to have a decent life. After my wife gave birth to our oldest son, she had a pretty bad bout of baby blues. She wasn't full on postpartum depression, but her OBGYN offered to prescribe her an antidepressant if she wanted it. A week or so after being home, she called the DR and asked for the prescription. I went to pick it up for her and the nurse told me it'd take a week or so for it to get in her system and start working. I intentionally neglected to tell my wife that part. I get the prescription filled, get home, and she takes the first dose. About 2 hours later, she can't stop talking about how amazing the meds worked. She only took 2-3 doses before she quit taking them. Rinse and repeat for baby 2. She still doesn't know that it was all basically a placebo. At age 13, I helped a ex-boyfriend cheat on someone I'm on good terms with now. He was really f***ing manipulative and awful. But that doesn't excuse it, and I'll always feel dirty and gross about myself when I think about it. Well, there's something you don't know about me. I read an article saying that growing almonds was bad for the environment. And yet I continue to use almond milk in my coffee. Shitty? When I was a kid, I once poured out the apple juice out of carton and replaced it with orange juice. Not as serious as other comments, but here we go. A couple of weeks before the birthday of a good friend, I found out that she doesn't consider herself pretty even if her boyfriend always tells her she is. Obviously, At her birthday party the three of us were drunk and I don't remember why, but she asked me if I found her hot. Thinking about the fact that she thinks she isn't, I said yes, hoping that it would make her happy and that will be the end of it. Wrong. She was happy about it, but now she keeps telling everyone that I find her hot, and sometimes it can get quite awkward since she even says it when it's not really appropriate. I would never tell her the truth about why I told her she is hot. But the truth is, I don't think she is. I love to sing. It's so bad that I won't even subject my husband or kids to it. But I'll sing my heart out on my long commute to and from work. I bought several Rolexes by emptying my bank account. And my mom and dad never noticed. Now I'm just picturing you walking in for breakfast with like 4 Rolexes on each arm and your dad's reading a newspaper and your mom's flipping pancakes. Both say hi sweetie. But don't notice the watches. That I'm gay. I'm sorry you don't feel like you can share your truth without anonymity. The existence of this account. I come from a conservative family and grew up conservative. My affair. My wife and I didn't live together for a short time. Due to work. About the time we moved into our respective houses, I met a very good-looking married Italian lady who made it clear she was interested in me. I didn't respond at first, but couldn't resist. It led into some of the most mind-blowing sex I've ever had. We'd meet once or twice a month in different cities and find somewhere public to have sex. Something I never thought I was into before finding a hotel to really go to town on each other. She was a serial cheater on her husband. I was just another guy on her list. So it fizzled out after a few months. Username checks out. The moment a zombie nuclear apocalypse started, I would kill both my younger siblings. They are completely useless. I like it when people want me. I want to be kissed and held and embraced, and being able to fulfill their desire within my means makes me feel good. Sexually or romantically or any way else. I want to be used to make someone happy. Like someone enjoying me deeply and taking every part of me. I prefer McDonald's over Wendy's, but my wife would leave me if I told her. You've made the mistake of saying that here. Well, this one isn't one that no one knows, but my boyfriend doesn't know. I'm bi. What only my best friend knows and no one else. I've recently started thinking I may be non-binary. I don't feel like it's a huge thing to tell anyone. But I've been very confused for months over it. Also, only my mom knows this one. But I almost stabbed my mom when I was 12. I made a Twitter account talking everyone in my classroom and a few people suspected it was me, but I got away with it and no one knows who it actually was.